Good evening, Shortcuts. Stephen here. These are the videos for the shortcuts lists that will go out on Wednesday at 9 p.m. That's Wednesday, the 31st of May. So, the theme this week, sales and Grails. So, this is the Grails video. I've got 10 records here that I think should be in everyone's record collection. And I've been setting these aside over the last few months so that I could do sales and Grails. And this t-shirt might give you a clue. Actually, it might be even the very first record as to one band that I think should be on everyone's shelves. So I got 10 records here that all different, and I love them all. And and then there'll be another video which will be very different, which will be some records that I'm going to put on sale as a sign of love to you all for supporting this little endeavor of mine. So here we go. 10 Grails before the sales. Record number 1. And these are all Japanese presses. I think all of them are first presses. So, first, the Meters, the Japanese first press of Cabbage Alley. The Meters. The greatest funk band there ever was, except maybe for the JBs, but it's close. Cabbage Alley is my favorite Meters album. It is their first on the Reprise label. It's interesting. The reviews at the time, the contemporary reviews, thought it was somewhat of a reggae-tinged affair. And certainly there are a couple of songs that are lighter and kind of like summer fare, that's for sure. But there are also a number of songs on this record that are like how I imagine Led Zeppelin might play funk. Except, the drummer here in the Meters has a lighter touch than John Bonham, just like every other drummer on the planet. Bonham was the heaviest there was. But this record takes riffs, it takes cover versions of Neil Young songs. It's got psychedelic breakdowns. It has certainly got some clear New Orleans funk lineage. But this record's in my top 10 of all time. I have a few copies. This record, the Japanese first press, is absolutely mint. Perfect condition. Super hard to find. If you don't know Cabbage Alley by the Meters, give it a go. This next band that I've chosen are a band that I don't really like. But I could well be wrong, because they're adored. This is Japanese. I think this is the first press. I might have to check before I do the video. But it is in immaculate condition. Complete with Obi. This is the hard cardboard gatefold of the Doors. I think this is their 5th album. This is Morrison Hotel. In absolutely amazing condition. Look at that. Morrison Hotel. Between the Soft Parade and LA Woman. And you can hear. The Soft Parade is overproduced. To my ears, it's lugubrious and just sludgy. They spent a fortune recording the Soft Parade, and you can hear it. Almost, I think it was, almost $1 million, which was unheard of at the time, and it took forever, and it was driving the band nuts. So they decided to have a more clean and crisp production for Morrison Hotel, which was the photograph on the front, kind of like a dime bar in downtown Los Angeles. There's the back of it. It's, of course, the clue here, Roadhouse Blues, the classic track from this record, which it almost feels transitional because the blues infusion really takes hold in LA Woman. But to my ears, Jim Morrison's voice was shot by LA Woman. So, you know, Morrison Hotel is adored, and I can kind of hear it. I just can't get on with the Doors. But this copy is immaculate, and was the most expensive to acquire of everything on this list. That particular copy has got its own online fan club. Described more on the list on Wednesday, but it is adored, as is this record. I'm going to take this one out of the sleeve because the Japanese release, first press, of London Calling, The Clash, was the only release that was ever done gatefold. And this copy is immaculate. Famously on the white label of London Calling. I played this copy tonight. It is perfect. Amazing quality. What a record. And what can be said about The Clash, London Calling? Often voted the greatest album of the 80s, and it was just released right at the beginning of 1980. A lot of people think this was a 70s record, but it's not. It's an 80s record. What's my favorite? I wonder, well, here we go. Here's something you might not know about London Calling. So one of the singles, in fact, maybe the biggest hit from London Calling, is a song called Train in Vain, which they recorded toward the end of the sessions in order to get some radio play. And they loved it, and it did really well in the charts. And so they put it on the record. But by that point, all of the artwork all around the world had already been produced. So if you listen to side D, you will see there are 4 tracks on side D. In fact, I'm lucky, they're right here. Lovers Rock, The Four Horsemen, I'm Not Down, and of course the rather wonderful Revolution Rock. But you will then find a 5th track on side D that is the uncredited Train in Vain. Now, this next record is another double album, and it's almost comical. It does not stand on 2 feet next to London Calling, but I have a soft spot for it, and it's a lot of fun. It is. I'm going to take this one out of the sleeve as well. The Japanese first press of Live Killers by Queen. Again, hard cardboard gatefold. Live Killers in Japan and a lot of other places. Queen live in a few countries, which is a bit odd. But here's partly why I've put it on this Grail list. Each of the records were sleeved in this kind of colour scheme. Bright, audacious red and this kind of emerald green. So what did the Japanese do? On the first press, they put the Green album out in green, translucent vinyl. You can please see me through there. And, you can probably work this out now, the red record came out in red translucent vinyl. These are not easy to find. And so, there you have the next record on Sales and Grails, the Grails list. Queen, Live Killers, Japanese first press in translucent vinyl. Told you it was fun. This next record is the polar opposite of fun. This record is Pink Floyd's Final Cut, another hard cardboard gatefold, complete with obi. You can see the poppies there. Of course, that's a reference to the nature of the recording of this record, which was somewhat of a follow-up to the live performances of The Wall, but was, let's call it reminiscence from Roger Waters on the fact, I think it was his grandfather who was killed in the battlefield, maybe in the Somme, but certainly in one of the world wars, and you can hear that military, claustrophobic sound all the way through this record. Dave Gilmour partially appears. I think it was Richard Wright who doesn't appear on this record at all. So it has a feel of a Roger Waters solo record. But I rather like it. It's not top tier Floyd, but sometimes top tier Floyd is a bit, you've kind of been there, done that. And the number of times I've put the Final Cut on and sat back and gone, Christ, this is a great record. And this Japanese first press with obi is the nicest copy you will ever see. Of course, Roger Waters was fastidious in the studio, but nothing to this next guy. And I've put this on the Sales and Grails list because this record is one that I often use if someone comes in and says, play me something, and you want to show how your speakers sound or whatever. But Donald Fagen, Nightfly. Again, this is the Japanese first press in immaculate condition, complete with obi. And the inserts and everything else. Nightfly, named, you can see Donald Fagen as the Nightfly, the late night DJ on the cover. A very autobiographical record, a record that recalls many episodes in his childhood, sometimes comical, sometimes rather disturbing. And it was a record that almost, I think it did turn him into a recluse for quite some time. It was spliced together from hundreds of hours of recording and overdubs, and used a lot of the musicians that were around the studio at the same time as Fagen and Becker were making some of the later Steely Dan records like Gaucho in Asia. So if you like those records, it's got a similar feel. Although I think over the years, I would say Nightfly has gained its own wings. I think it's kind of separated itself almost from the Steely Dan pack. And and the Japanese pressing is magnificent. As is this record is confounding. I can't work out whether I love it or loathe it. This is Live Evil by Miles Davis. A rather eccentric and compelling mix of live and studio recordings featuring some of the greatest jazz musicians at the time, as Jacques DeJohnette, drums, John McLaughlin on guitar, who of course went on to play guitar on Jack Johnson, which is my personal favourite Miles Davis record. But this first pressing of Live Evil, I don't know. It's got a presence and I think you can hear Miles Davis wrestling with himself, and even though some of the studio recordings almost are like a series of intense ballads, the the caustic nature of what he was trying to strive for comes through. It has a feel of a rock record, even though, you know, it's clearly not. Yeah. If anyone does grab this one, I'm very happy to have a conversation about Live Evil with anyone, or just Live. Is it called Live Evil? I can't even remember now. Yeah, Live Evil. Such an odd name. All right, we've got 3 records to go. This next record is a jazz record, if you can call Miles' Live Evil a jazz record. But this is a live record that is as soothing and salubrious as lying in a daisy-covered field in the height of summer, listening to the water trickling as you eat an apple that you just picked from the tree in the orchard. It paints a picture in my mind, and it's this Waltz for Debbie by Bill Evans. The Bill Evans Trio, in fact. It's really only through this club that I've got to know Bill Evans. I had no idea who Bill Evans was before I began kind of getting some jazz records through the folks in Shibuya, and some of you saying, have you got Undercurrent, or have you got Portrait and Jazz? And this is the first time I've ever had Waltz for Debbie. And a lot of the aficionados would say that this is the greatest Bill Evans recording. And that is really saying something. It's an absolute delight on the Riverside label. It's just replete with pleasure, that record. 2 to go. Very, very different. Both Japanese first presses. How about this? The Japanese first press of In for the Kill by Budgie. Budgie, the Welsh Wizards, the 3-piece proto-metal hard rock, just stellar players. How they weren't massive, I genuinely will never know. But for those who did get to know them, they made an impression. And so, you know, Crash Course in Brain Surgery, which is genuinely riff-tastic, which makes me feel a bit like those DJs that the fast show and shows that I grew up loving would take the piss out of. But Metallica covered multiple Budgie songs in the 80s on their EPs. None better than Crash Course in Brain Surgery. I adore this record. And then finally, maybe the oddest of these 10 Grails. This is Syd Barrett's second and final record, Barrett. Syd painted this cover himself. And, you know, to throw back to the final cut, which appeared earlier, there are some Pink Floyd members on this record. In fact, if I remember correctly, it is produced by Dave Gilmour and Richard Wright. Although Dave Gilmour predominantly plays bass guitar, Richard Wright obviously keyboards. This record was recorded after the Madcap Laughs, which was quite well received, which, you know, Syd Barrett's first and most famous record. Barrett is a very different affair. It's a bit more better produced. It's a bit more better. I'm usually more literate than that. It's a bit better produced. But it's still vignettes almost than fully formed songs. Although the effect of the whole record is makes you feel kind of cloudy and it's got I'm not going to say druggy because it really isn't that psychedelic. It's almost more like a Canterbury record. and in its own way is rather lovely, which is why I put it here. Also, super rare, really hard to find. Everything here is really hard to find. So there you go. The 10 Grails. Barrett. By Sid Barrett. In for the Kill. Budgie. Waltz for Debbie. Bill Evans. The Mercurial Live Evil. Miles Davis. Donald Fagen. Nightfly. The Final Cut by Pink Floyd. Queen, Live Killers in translucent red and green vinyl. The Spectacular London Calling. Beautiful copy of Morrison Hotel. Honestly, I honestly think this record's barely, if ever, been played. And Cabbage Alley by the Mighty Meters. There you have it. The 10 Grails on Grails and Sales from Shortcuts this week. Would love to field any questions. If anyone's any feedback, if you think Grails and Sales is an interesting concept, good, let me know. If you think if you think it's terrible, let me know that too. And thank you for watching as always. And maybe a few of you might pick one or two of these up on Wednesday. Thanks for watching as always. Hope you found that enjoyable. Please subscribe if you did, or leave me a comment. All the usual guff. And thanks a lot. Till next time.